Hey everybody, infinite regression, whatever. And yeah, we're gonna play Minecraft. And I'm not gonna go through the whole ordeal of showing a picture and playing the theme song. We're just gonna do it. Because because it's gonna get done and that's that. Anyway, I guess we can go add on to our island. Anyway, so uh yeah. This is just not put too fine a point on it. Today, just reminded of how little value I have to my employer, and that's great. You know, like as a teacher, trying my darndest day after day, bringing my best, trying to educate children, for a living, which is an increasingly hard thing to do. Have you met a child recently? Anyway, uh, regardless, yeah, was hauled in, given a talking to, and whatnot. Over things that I've already talked about on this channel. Moments that are not my proudest moment as an educator, and things that, quite frankly, I already felt bad about, but now, yeah, I don't even want to talk about it, to be honest. I don't. I don't want to talk about specifics. I don't want to get into it because it's freaking dumb. Uh, like, if I were the party involved, I would be freaking ashamed to lend my name to this kind of nonsense. Um, I always thought when I was in school, like I was raised in a town full of very petty, very stupid people, very backwards, ridiculous people. It is a town where like the great great grandchildren of the founders of the town are still there, and being a great great grandchild, or whatever, however many greats of a grandchild it is, being a descendant of the founders of the town is still considered a big deal and is an automatic punch ticket to, social capital within this small town that nobody's heard of and nobody gives a crap about. And rightfully so. Like, nobody should have heard of it, and nobody should give a crap about it, because this is a town of very little consequence where very little meaningful anything has happened. And so, yeah, it's the kind of stupidity that gets perpetuated there that just, is everything that is wrong with the world, nepotism and idiocy, blatant open racism that is never going to be addressed, etc., etc. It's an absurd place, and I can't help the fact that I was born there and raised there, but I can absolutely look at it and say, yeah, you people are wrong about a great many things. Anyway, so that is the place where I am from. And I watched these people when I was a kid. I watched them run teachers out of town. I watched them abuse and mistreat people who had done nothing wrong other than to assume that they could come into town and teach these inbred people's children. And I do mean inbred. I mean, over successive generations, everybody's a little too closely related, if you know what I mean. Anyway, so yeah, that's what I remember as a kid. I watched some great teachers pack their bags and leave. Sadly, you know, teachers who made an impact, teachers who made a difference, teachers that I was very lucky to have. And I watched these people get railroaded, by incompetents and morons who did not deserve them, quite frankly. And now I get to be in the position of someone who gets treated like crap on a constant basis, who's undervalued, who is never appreciated, never supported institutionally, who is always viewed as the problem, who is always viewed as someone who courts controversy and, is always trying to do the wrong thing in every situation. That's how I'm viewed. My reputation is crap as far as, the powers that be are concerned. I very firmly believe that if we were not in the middle of a teacher shortage where they are quite literally going outside the country to recruit any teachers at all, if we were not in such a shortage, I do not doubt that they would not want to employ me at all. Which is, it's not the sort of realization you like to come to. It's not the sort of thing you like to think about, is that, these people would rather I not worked here. And it sucks because when you are a teacher, here's the problem. That you actually give a crap about the kids. Giving a crap about the kids is a double-edged sword. Because on the one hand, it's good for the kids. Students deserve teachers who care about them, who care about their future, who care about their present, who listen to them, who, make them feel respected and understood and all of that. And quite honestly, that's what I have always tried to do. Even with these terrible students who are just awful people, they're freshmen, and so there's still a chance that they might grow up to be half decent people, but right now they aren't even people. And they are malformed, maladjusted, and it is, my role to attempt to teach them anything. Meanwhile, they are actively wishing that they could get me fired, which is cruel, absolutely cruel. They have looked into the eyes of my children, and what they are saying is, I wish I could knock a spoonful of food out of your child's mouth. I've looked into your child's eyes, and I do not think that they deserve a father who has this as a livelihood. That's what they're saying, essentially. And it's insulting. It's insulting because what have I done what I've done is I have tried to educate them. I've committed this great crime of trying to take the knowledge from my brain and put it into their brain in hopes that they will grow up to be fully functional members of society. What is the role of education if not that? I mean, certainly, yes, we hope in the lives of individual students to unlock capabilities to give opportunities that otherwise might not arise. Yes, to be certain. But, when you teach a core subject, you are teaching people who would not take your class if they didn't have to. It's a different approach. And so you realize that a lot of these people would never take your class if it were up to them. Well, why are they in your class? Because the state has determined that what you teach is of value. And not just of value, but of such value that the child should have no say in the matter as to whether or not they learn the knowledge that you have prepared to impart unto them. That is the system that we have in place, where we've decided that what I teach is of such supreme importance that it doesn't matter whether or not the children want to learn it, they need to learn it. And as I've told them many a time, kids get confused. They think that when they're in your English class, that you want them to remember facts about Romeo and Juliet. Nope. I don't give a lot of tests on, who remembers useless knowledge from Romeo and Juliet? No. That's not what we do. I'm teaching skills. Do they read Romeo and Juliet? Oh, yeah. Of course they read it. It's an old, complicated text. And someday, these children are going to receive a recycled paper booklet in the mail. And that recycled paper booklet is going to contain information that will look absolutely boring to any child of 13, 14 years of age, but it is of absolute vital information to anyone who wishes to make an informed vote. Because the states will put out as close as they can to unbiased voter information, and then it becomes the responsibility of the individual voters to vote in accordance with their understanding, to vote in accordance with their conscience. And as someone who has an interest in continuing American democracy, as someone who has an interest in, having a society in which people are reasonably intelligent and, able to function as reasonably intelligent members of society who generally respect and understand one another. These are things I care about. And that's why I do what I do. That is why I don't mind the fact that I sit down semester after semester, year after year, and stare into the half-glazed over eyeballs of children who wish they were anywhere else. That's why I don't mind it as much, because I see the value in what I do. Well, I see the value in what I do. My employer does not. And quite frankly, they have failed to take my side. They've failed to respect me in any situation that involves students making wild accusations about me. From the very first, when a student accused me of forcing students to perform in a racist play, which is not true. I had students performing in a play that specifically teaches the exact opposite of that. That specifically teaches why you shouldn't treat people differently just because they look differently and act differently. It's a beautiful play with a beautiful message. And because of personal beef with me that a student had, beef which, quite frankly, stemmed mostly from the fact that they didn't appreciate how beholden they were to me as a student who would not have graduated if it were not for my efforts on their behalf. Not in my drama classroom, but in my English classroom, because I had the student in both. And they openly sabotaged a play that they were not the only person in, obviously. Like, they sabotaged a play that was very important to a lot of people. And they didn't care that they had done such a thing because, quite frankly, they're not a very good person. And, I've had to put up with these kinds of things before, and it's interesting because some of the people in my educational career who have hated me the most and resented me the most are the people for whom I have done the most work, to whom I have given the most help, about whom I have stressed and pondered the most, have thought harder and longer, how do I help this child to achieve, to succeed? Those are the children who hate you and who will go out of their way to sabotage you, to sabotage your entire career. And what a terrible, terrible thing. What a terrible position to put any person into. I would not wish such a thing on my worst enemy. I wouldn't treat my worst enemy with the lack of respect that I am shown, not just by my students, but by my employers as well. I wouldn't do that to my worst enemy on my worst day. Wouldn't do it. Too cruel. Too heartless. Anyway, so yeah, did I have a bad day at work? Oh, that doesn't begin to describe it. It's terrible. Absolutely terrible. What I am being forced to endure. But here's the thing. I can stick it out. I can stick it out longer than people think that I can. Because I will tell you this. I have worked, in a former life, I was a librarian. And I worked for a man who was threatened by my competence. Not just my competence, my expertise. He was threatened by it because he lacked basic competence in a number of things, and he lacked expertise in a number of things. And rather than go out of his way to acquire said competence, said expertise, he would tear other people down and then collect that evidence and show it to his higher-ups to make himself look better. He was my direct supervisor. And it's funny because when I tell people about him, they say, well, if you are doing a great job and he is the person who brought you in and trained you, which he didn't bring me in, but he trained me on a number of things when I was just starting out. That much is true. But if he had trained me on a number of things and then I turn out to be a good addition to the staff, which I was, then would it not speak well of him as a manager that he managed his people well and treated them kindly and, made them better? And I've said, yeah, that's what a sane person would think. That's what a normal person would think. But you can't always count on that from people. And he would, on a daily basis, go out of his way to make my life miserable. He would sabotage everything I did. And I have never met a student who hated me enough, or who was clever enough, or who had the kind of free time that it would take to sabotage me on the level that this man did every single day. And even if I did have such a student, I never have any of these people for more than 6 months anyway. And so as long as I can stick it out till Christmas, all of these people will be out of my life. And I will be glad to be rid of them. And so whatever threat they feel that they can pose to me in the here and now, to that I say feh, because they are not going to force me out. They are not going to force my hand, because I do have people that I care about, and I have people who care about me. Quite frankly, I have students who, are so very loyal to me and so very, how you say, they really and truly do care about me. I've told this story before that, I had students texting me over the summer and they found out that our air conditioner was in need of repair, which, that's funny because our air conditioner has since been replaced because it needed repair again fairly recently, as you may know if you've heard these things. Anyway, regardless, but when these students found out that in the middle of the summer that my family was, sweating it out with no air conditioner, they came and they brought Otter Pops. They came and they visited us. They met all of our pets. They, students legitimately actually cared about us so very deeply that even though they were out enjoying their summer, they took time, they spent money on us to help us out. And so I always have those kinds of students. I always do. Because I always have students who get it, who understand me. That is the greatest shortcoming of this group of freshmen that I can identify, is they don't understand me at all. And quite frankly, they do not deserve me. because what they don't get is that in addition to being an odd person, in addition to being weird and quirky and all of the things which, I don't know, bother them so very much, I am an expert. I know a lot. My brain is full of knowledge, and not just in my field of expertise, but it is full of knowledge across a wide variety of fields of learning, because I go out of my way to fill my brain with as much knowledge as possible. Because I'm going to be dead someday, and I've had to stare that fact in the face, especially, considering the lack of any, personal deities who are concerned with my day-to-day. I have no evidence that God or gods are directly involved in my daily doings. No evidence that this is the case. And as such, I have no reason to suspect anything other than the fact that when my body ceases functioning, that whatever part of me I consider to be me, whatever duality we think we have when we say, oh, this is my body, but this is me, the me that I think is separate from my body, but actually resides within my skull as my brain. When my brain ceases functioning, I will cease to exist in this universe, never to rise again, and that will be the end of it. And quite frankly, I'm very glad that that is the way that it most likely is. Why? Because as a child, I was told that regardless of my wishes, that Jesus has made it so that I will be forced to live forever, that I will have no choice in the matter, but that he has already made it so that my life will continue after my death. And I used to sit and I used to try and ponder eternity, and it seemed awful. I could not then, as a child, and I cannot now, as an adult, imagine an existence that I can imagine myself enjoying in the very, very, very distant future. I can't even imagine it. And I have a pretty active imagination, but I cannot imagine waking up on the 301st millionth year of my existence and being excited that I am still alive. I can't even imagine that. At a certain point, I would want it to end. Those of you who have seen The Good Place might know what I'm talking about. Certainly, Sartre knew what I'm talking about because he wrote the play No Exit, in which the very idea of hell is not having a way out. Well, and also, of course, the play Hell is Other People. That's perhaps an oversimplification of the point, quite frankly, and any creative work is subject to the reinterpretation of those who enjoy it after the author or creator has sent it out into the world. What do I glean from No Exit? What I glean from No Exit is that not having a way out is hell. And so, yes, I accept the fact that someday my brain will cease to function, in spite of the fact that I will have spent a lifetime trying to cultivate knowledge, trying to fill it full of information. People frequently comment, oh, you know so very many things on such a wide variety of subjects. Well, first of all, my knowledge is very sparse when compared with that of my older brother, but thank you for the compliment nonetheless. It's true. My older brother knew more on a wider range of subjects than I could ever hope. He was fantastic at these sorts of things. And when I think of him and I think of, who he was and how few people knew the true extent of what his mind was capable of. And I am proud to say that I am one of those people who has an idea of what his mind was capable of. When I think of the fact that there are so few people who truly understood that about him, I think that is the great shame of his life. That is the great loss. That not enough people knew his capability. I mean, quite a few people knew his kind and generous heart, knew his, his gentle and caring ways, but did not know his scholarly ability. Anyway, may seem trivial to you, but it's quite a great deal to me. Anyway, so, yeah, I accept the fact that I will not exist forever, and I accept the fact that my mind is finite in a number of ways. There is a finite amount of information it can hold. It has limitations. For example, you will scarcely ever meet a person who is worse at remembering names than I am. I have this terrible, terrible time remembering names, and it always makes me feel terrible because, not only do I forget people's names, people who I should remember, I also have a terrible time remembering the names of the people whose work I am referencing whenever I, reference a scientific or a social scientific study. I very frequently cannot remember the person who performed the work, the person whose work I am citing, which is, is a terrible thing. People should get credit for what they have done. If anyone has brought knowledge of use to humanity into the world, or has brought the consciousness of the larger human population around to an awareness of facts about ourselves and the world around us that are valuable to us in our existence, they deserve credit for having done so. And I often feel terrible that I do not give that credit where that credit is due, simply because my mind has trouble remembering people's names. This is a very dumb thing, but it is a very real struggle. Anyway, My older brother did not have this same struggle. He remembered people's names very easily and very well, and for long periods of time. And, now that he is gone, that is one of the things that has gone with him. A great repository of knowledge, but also a great knowledge of a great number of people. Lost and gone forever, buried with him in his casket. Or most certainly gone before that time. Anyway, regardless, I understand these things. I get it. I'm not blind to the realities of human life. And I'm not blind to the realities of my profession, of how little the society in which I live values my profession. I mean, I've seen my paychecks. I know how little I'm valued compared to the expertise that I bring to my work. Normally, when you bring the level of expertise to your work that I bring to mine, you are compensated as an expert. But not in the field of education. No, we don't value educators the same way, certainly not in America. Anyway, I know all of these things. I am aware of them. They pain me, but I know them. I'm not dumb. I'm not blind. And yet, every day I go into a classroom full of ingrates and morons that I have been required to teach. These are students who, in some cases, due to no fault of their own, know very little of the things that they should know, not just in my area of study, not just in the world of English, but in general lack of knowledge about history, general lack of knowledge about a wide variety of subjects: history, sociology, psychology, and the list could go on and on. And when I try to bring information to the minds of these students, I try to teach them things. The student who is actively working to get me fired is one who was shouting at me, "This isn't important. Nobody cares." That is what they were yelling at me before I did the thing that I am, now so very much in trouble for. Because papers grazed a student's cheek. And that is a form of assault because it's 2020. Thankfully, charges are not being pressed at present. At present, charges are not being pressed. That papers grazed a cheek is so wildly insulting that anyone would even consider that noteworthy. And I don't mean it in the sense that, back in my day, they used to beat kids with a paddle and that's the real way to educate. No. The narcissism evident in a student who has endured a very minor reminder of how terrible they were being in class then took that home, told parents. Parents were outraged, marched down to the school to have meetings about what the crap I'm doing in my classroom, without giving a thought to what the crap is your child doing in the classroom. What is your child doing that a grown man is losing his temper and his patience with your child? A grown man who, quite frankly, over the past, decade, has learned an awful lot about biting his tongue and about letting things go and not taking offense when children, quite frankly, treat him like crap on a daily basis. Now, as someone who gets treated like crap by children on a daily basis for a living, I've come to understand that I can always expect that there will be people who will treat me poorly. And interestingly enough, they are facsimiles of the people who treated me poorly when I was in school. Oh, yes, stereotypes persist. They persist for a reason. And it is because these types of people, the bullies of the world, bullies are going to bully. And they don't care who they bully. And they don't care how the bullied are affected. Because a bully is, deep down, a narcissist. Someone who believes that they are inherently better than others, or that they have a right to different treatment than others. It's narcissism, pure and simple. And so, yeah, this is not my first time dealing with a narcissistic child, a petulant narcissistic child who knows so very little of the world in which they live and how it actually works. And I take children like this and I attempt to teach them something. And quite frankly, these are the ones that I work the hardest with. These are the ones that I spend the most time worrying about. When I'm putting my lessons together, I'm not thinking about the kids who are going to do well regardless. Those are not the children that I'm thinking about when I'm putting together my lesson plans. The children who always get it, the children who always get their work done on time, the children who always understand and to a certain extent appreciate what is being taught. Those are never the children I'm thinking about when I'm putting together my lessons. Who I'm thinking about are the children who are going to turn up their noses. And I'm always thinking, what can I do for them? How can I make it better for them? How can I make this experience less painful? How can I make it more enjoyable? How can I make it reach them on a better level? And on and on. You know, like someone who gives a crap about their job. Like someone who is attempting to do a good job. Well, my efforts in this area are neither noticed nor appreciated by my employer, who only cares about whether or not someone is rocking the boat. And if the boat gets rocked even in the slightest degree, the person responsible for boat rocking is going to catch a world full of hurt. And although I am not a fan of having this boat rock, it is ultimately my classroom, and it is ultimately my student who is bringing their parent in to rock the freaking boat. And so I am the one who is going to catch hell for it. And it doesn't matter what I've done in the past, and it doesn't matter what I'm going to do in the future, so long as I've been given a good telling off and have been set straight. So, yeah. What I can say right now in terms of how I'm going to approach this class for the rest of the year, I've made the mistake of trying to open up to them, of trying to let them in and see who I am and see what it is that I do. I've even suggested that some of them work hard and hopefully show up in my honors classes someday. Well, no more of this nonsense. No more of this looking down the road and thinking about what is best for the student, because at a certain point, I have to think about my children, I have to think about my wife, and I have to think about myself. And if these children are going to attempt to threaten me, and threaten my livelihood, and threaten my ability to put food on the table for my family, well, then I'm afraid I cannot prioritize these children above my own. I can't, and I shouldn't. And so I'm not going to. I will not go above and beyond for these children. They are going to get the most cut and dry, the most wildly professional, yet the most soulless teaching that I can present. Because I have been told, basically, that my opinions are not welcome, my thoughts are not welcome, and my personality is not welcome. I've been told this by my students. I've been told this by the administration. And so they are going to get, in this class and this class alone. In my other classes, they are going to get the real me, because they deserve it, because they've earned it, and because they appreciate it. In this class, what they're going to get is the bare minimum. That is all they deserve. That is all they are going to get. The bare minimum. Will I go out of my way to make any of this, any of the things that we learn fun? No. Why should I? There's no purpose. There's no reason. These people have not earned the right to enjoy my class. No, they have not earned that right. Why should they enjoy it when they have sought to end my career? So, yeah, that's what's going on there. They're going to get the bare minimum. When it's time to teach Shakespeare, oh, I'll teach Shakespeare. Yeah, I will teach it. Will they enjoy it? No, of course not. Because I am going to teach it so much by the book, they won't be able to handle it. Because if that's what they want, if the administration looks at my teaching and says, oh, you've been bringing your personality into things, you've been bringing your expertise into things, we would rather you not. Well, then I don't have to. I don't have to. They haven't earned it. They don't deserve it. I'll save it for people who give a crap. And I hope you can understand how wildly infuriating it is to be someone who has cultivated an expertise, who has cultivated a brain full of knowledge that they are willing to share with their students. You know, when I was in high school, I had a senior English teacher, 1, 2, 3, 4, whose name was Risa Udall. Now, Risa Udall is one of the most brilliant women I've ever had the pleasure of knowing. And she knew more on a wider variety of subjects than anyone I've ever seen. She was a massive fan of the game show Jeopardy! And people wondered if she would ever go on Jeopardy! I think she would have broken the show if she had gone on Jeopardy! I can't imagine a scenario in which she would be unable to answer even a single question. She had that kind of mind. And when she taught us, it wasn't just blah, 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 here's the textbook, yada, 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 here you go, straight down the middle, this is all you get. No. She brought her incredible mind to bear on our educational process. She brought herself into the classroom, which is why when my mother ran into her only a couple of years ago, so this has been, you know, well past my 20-year high school reunion that I did not attend because why? And my mother found out that one of the things that my old English teacher had saved was a paper that I had written. And why did she save it? Well, she said it was because it reminded her why she started teaching in the first place. Because it reminded her that she occasionally got to see students do well and create original, insightful, interesting writing, which is what she said that I had created. Now, I don't know. To this day, I don't know what it is that I wrote that so captured my English teacher's interest. I have no idea. I do know that she loves the fact that I have grown up to be an English teacher. I do know that that is true. And I do know that it doesn't surprise her that I've grown up to be an English teacher. The cycle continues. Except for, I can tell you this. That woman who was so brilliant, who was so wonderful, who was such a great teacher for such a long time, for decades, she taught in this cowpunk town that, like, she had no business being there. She should have been elsewhere, making more money, doing something bigger and better with her life. But she was there teaching us. And those of us who understood how lucky we were to have her appreciated what she did. And I can say that, yes, as a high school student, I appreciated what she brought to the table as a teacher. Now, my school district where I work now, their teacher turnover rate is, in a word, appalling. Year to year, they just lose handfuls of teachers. It is not great. We have seen so many great teachers come and go. Some of our very favorites are gone, and they are not coming back. Now, why is it that they aren't coming back? Is it that they don't like the kids? No, actually, they love the kids. Quite frankly, there are some of the greatest kids I've ever seen in our school district. And a lot of those kids I have great relationships with. And it's the only thing that keeps me going day to day. It's a thing that my wife and I talk about because teaching is so stressful and anxiety inducing, especially these days where, you know, you're one false accusation and one lawsuit away from being out on your can, um, especially when you are a male teacher, which is what I am. I don't know if you knew that. Yeah, if you can't tell by the voice, as my wife says. Anyway, so yeah, it is. I have a friend, a very dear friend, one of my closest friends from high school that I'm still in contact with, and she was fired from her teaching job. Um, she was fired for reasons that I think are utterly ridiculous. And she agrees that they are ridiculous, of course. Not going to go into it. I've talked about it before. But, you know, she was talking with me about teaching, and she said that teaching is a toxic profession. It perhaps has not always been this way, but it's certainly this way now. I think of there's a very great cartoon. Hold on, I'm gonna see if I can find the cartoon. I'll show it to you if I can find it. Yeah, here you go. Here's the difference. This is legitimately what it's like to be a teacher now. It is true. You know, we are the problem. We are the flaw in the system. We are what's wrong with everything. We are the cause of all the ills in society, and we are supposed to be the solution as well. Awesome, right? Uh, if you are thinking of taking up a career in education, don't. Do something else with your life. You'll make a lot more money, for one. And the stress, the aggravation, the frustration, is it worth it? I don't know. I'll probably die younger than I should, quite frankly, uh, due to a number of factors that are aggravated and exacerbated by the fact that I am a teacher. Quite frankly, giving up a portion of my life to my profession. Now, granted, if you live in America, you're expected to. Like, all hail the almighty dollar. Everyone bowed down and, you know, be willing to give up a significant portion of your life in the vain pursuit of those dollar signs that, someone farther upstream from you who is doing considerably less work is going to glean a greater number of them than you, simply because of the family in which they were born and the circumstances they inherited. Oh, no, sorry, I said that wrong. I meant they worked harder than I did. Bullcrap. Anyway, yeah. I'm so very frustrated because do you know what it's like to have people that you have labored for and sacrificed for actively working to get you fired? Do you know what that's like? Do you have any idea? Anyway, could not be more frustrated. And to have no institutional support whatsoever. Student points the finger of blame, therefore parents point the finger of blame, therefore administration points the finger of blame, therefore I stand there and I take the freaking blame. That's it. In Arizona, we are a right to work state, which means that you don't have a right to work. you could get fired at any point, and you can't do anything about it. You have no legal recourse. There is no union to help you because unions are terrible and should be illegal, says the state of Arizona, even though they do a great deal to help in situations like this. Anyway, I'm just undervalued, underappreciated, and it sucks. It sucks to know that at the end of the day, my employer does not give a crap about me. And so I need to approach my work with that knowledge in mind. That my employer would just as soon I didn't work there. Awesome. I am prepared to spend the rest of my professional career in this place, in this school district where children are growing up in poverty. Why? Because I feel like a moron. I feel like I can help. You know, a great teacher in our school district just retired last year. When I was in my teacher certification program and I had to do observations, I asked around, which teacher should I go and observe? Who should I go and see in practice? To a person, they all suggested that I go and see Mrs. Scott. And so I did. And what was Mrs. Scott doing in the very first class meeting that I observed? She was telling her class about the birth of her first great-grandchild. That's how old she was when I started teaching, and she just retired last year. And it took her a long time. She could have retired a lot sooner. And even though she's retired, guess what? She's back right now. She's at the school right now every day as a long-term sub because one of our other teachers just had a baby. So she's still doing it. She's still doing it. And if you were to ask her why, if you were to ask her why are you still teaching? Why are you still giving up a significant portion of your time and effort to this? And she's a math teacher, which is even worse than being an English teacher. Because when you are a math teacher, not only do your students not enjoy your work, not only do they not enjoy your class, and not only would they not ever take it unless they were absolutely required to, but you get so much of the when am I ever going to use this attitude. Anyway, yeah, the very first time I watched her teach, she was telling a class about the birth of her great-grandchild. And if you were to ask her, why do you keep going? Why do you keep teaching? She would say, if I don't do it, who's going to? Because she knew that she had an expertise. She knew that she had skills that she could bring to this school that were needed. And she felt like retiring would be selfish. And so she kept going a long time after a lot of people would have stopped. That's how it is with teachers. That's how it is with teachers. How many other professions do you know where people keep going just because they feel that they are that what they are able to bring to their job is something that cannot be replaced? You know, there is one of the great critics of capitalism in our time wrote a book, has given a TED talk, has done a number of things on the concept of what he calls bullshit jobs. That's his term, not mine. Anyway, but he points out how in our modern society we've created a situation where most people's jobs are not very essential. They're not needed. You're gonna sit in an office chair with poor lumbar support for decade upon decade, and at the end of it, what will you say that you have done? Whole lot of Excel spreadsheets that nobody looked at? Yeah, awesome. Awesome life. Way to contribute to society. And it's not the fault of the worker. It's the fault of the system, which continues to perpetuate these wildly unnecessary jobs that we neither need nor care about. And that's true of a lot of people. That is true of a lot of the things we have going on within our society. But teachers are necessary. Teachers are important. Now, I'm not going to be that guy who's like, oh, teachers are the real heroes. They're the only one. Like, no, obviously there are a number of people in society who matter. Doctors matter. Nurses matter. EMTs matter. You know, medical professionals matter a great deal in our society. Firemen matter. Policemen matter. Sure, a lot of people matter in our society. There are a lot of ways that you can earn a living where what you do actually has an impact for good on the society in which we live. Teachers not the only one. I'm not dumb, as we have discussed previously. But, you know, teacher is the one that is the least valued. You know, you don't find a lot of like, well, teacher lives matter flags and stuff. There's not a lot of that stuff. Just doesn't happen. You know, when we had the great debates about COVID and should we open the schools and should we not open the schools, everybody talked about the children. Nobody talked about the teachers. The teachers are, have been, and will continue to be the most susceptible to COVID in that equation. And that's just a fact. We are more susceptible to COVID, and in fact have accounted in our district for a lot more COVID than the children have. So, yeah, nobody ever gave a crap about us, you know. And I had to listen to a family member who's in the medical profession talk about like, well, I had to go to work all the time. I'm in the medical profession. Why didn't you guys have to go to work all the time? You should just sucked it up and gone to work. Yeah, you with your sterile environment and your access to a workplace with adequate ventilation and that can be absolutely sterilized at any given time, where you can know that you are in a clean environment at least once things have been properly sanitized, once things have been sterilized, etc. Maybe not every second of every day, sure, but more often than any teachers I know working in crappy rooms that have been falling apart for 4 decades or more, ventilation systems that have never been updated, that are full of bacteria from the 1940s, probably full of asbestos for all we know. Nobody gives a crap. Nobody gives a crap about any of this. Wait, what is he holding there? Oh, it's a conch shell. And honestly, these days, it is, I'm not sitting around and saying, oh, boo-hoo, I want someone to throw a parade for me. No, frick that. I don't need a parade. And quite frankly, I know what I get paid. I don't even need a freaking pay raise as much as I need basic freaking common decency and an understanding that what I do is important. You know, when I was a librarian, shortly before I became a teacher, we had a situation where the branch manager, it was ridiculous, but here's what happened. The branch manager who hired me, her husband died on the day that I was to begin my employment. And she hadn't told anybody that I was coming. And I was hired in a supervisory position. And so I was brought in and nobody even knew that it was happening. Which was, kind of a ridiculous position to be in, but that's where I was. Now, the woman who trained me, who taught me literally everything I knew about the day-to-day operations of that library. I mean, obviously, I understand all of the basics about library operation that you would know from having worked in a library for years and years. But obviously, you go from one place of employment to another, and there are going to be things that are different. There are going to be rules, policies, procedures, day-to-day tasks and whatnot that need to be done in a very specific way for a very specific reason. And she's the one who taught me all of those things, who caught me up on all of the institutional knowledge of that place. And quite frankly, she is the person who had the most institutional knowledge. She may have had more institutional knowledge than the branch manager who hired me in the first place. Anyway, she was not the branch manager. She was just a supervisor, as was I. Well, she was doing all of the work of a branch manager and all of the work of a supervisor. What the frick did I just get? Oh, bit of copper. Yeah, all the work of a branch manager in addition to the work of a supervisor that she had already been doing. And poor woman was working herself half to death. And she was very glad when I came along and was able to, throw my back into it and help with some of that work. But of course, she had to teach me how to do it first. A lot of those things that only managers, supervisors would take on, those were the things that she was having to train me in. And they were specific to that particular branch, that particular library. Anyway, So this woman was going above and beyond, doing two jobs at the same time, and not getting paid a red cent more for it. And when I would talk with her about it, all she would say is that she just wanted someone in a position of power, someone at the paycheck signing level, to recognize what it was that she was doing and to say, thank you, you're doing a great job. That's all she wanted. And she never got it. And her morale was terrible as a result. So I learned a very important lesson in that. If you want your employees to feel like crap and to constantly be on edge and to be wildly unhappy and to be barely getting by day to day, then go ahead and don't appreciate what it is that they do. And, yeah, they have never appreciated me. Do you have any idea how many times I have been hauled in to talk about, the content of a play that I wanted to put on? And so I started writing my own plays. Have I ever been thanked for this? Has it ever been acknowledged? No, never. Not once. Not once, not ever. And I don't expect a big parade, but just hey, I see what you're doing. Keep up the good work. Thank you for what you do. What I get is during Teacher Appreciation Week, I get some perfunctory, mason jars with pens in them and, old stale Starburst from somebody's freaking Easter basket leftovers. And that's what I get as a thank you for being an educator. And quite frankly, you can keep your mason jar. Just tell me that you appreciate, well, first of all, show me that you know what it is that I do, and then thank me for it. That's all I want. That's all I've ever wanted. And I can't get it, and I probably never will. And I'm not the sort of person who is ever going to go after an administrative role. I don't want to be an administrator. I want to be a teacher because that's what I'm good at. That's what I do. That's what I enjoy. Yeah, I'm crazy enough to enjoy teaching even though nobody freaking appreciates it. Nobody understands it. And I constantly have to deal with a bunch of bullcrap from, parents and people who don't even get what it is that I'm doing. Well, yeah, I guess I just need to stop holding my breath. I guess I just need to make peace with the fact that I will never be appreciated. And I would be very surprised. I would be shocked, in fact, if my teachers when I was in school, if the Reese U dolls of the world did not feel the exact same way. Be absolutely shocked if they did not feel the exact same way that I do. What a crime. What a shame. We could do better. We choose not to. This is the society that we have built for ourselves, ladies and gentlemen. This is the society that we have built. Now look, I don't know what you do for a living. But if I am someone who comes in contact with you and I see what you do and it benefits me, I will try to appreciate that and to try to tell you, or at least show you in some way, that I understand, that I care, that I get it. Because that is the bare minimum that people deserve. You know, no one deserves to work out their entire working life without ever feeling that they have been understood or appreciated. But when you're a teacher, that's what you get. You're not going to be understood. You're not going to be appreciated. Just suck it up. Anyway, sorry, this has been such a wildly disappointing episode, but I am wildly disappointed. I hate what I am being put through, and quite frankly, I absolutely resent the people who are doing it to me. Will I continue to teach them? Yes. And here's the most perverse thing. Will I continue to care about them? Yeah. I can't help it. I can't help it. Either teaching is in your blood or it is not. That's how they get away with paying us so little. That's how they get away with requiring so much extra of us. Nights, weekends, all of that. Oh, but if you don't coach this, or if you don't sponsor that, then little Timmy isn't going to have this club or that organization or this experience or that trip or what have you. And we are the ones who actually give a crap. Are we compensated for it? Well, the only compensation we get from things like that is people acknowledging and understanding what it is that we do and saying thank you for it. But that doesn't freaking happen. So, yeah. We'll just continue to be the freaking, light that shines in the darkness. And all y'all will just be like, yeah, of course there's a light that shines in the darkness. Always has been. I'm going to continue to take this for freaking granted and just run it into the ground and hope that a new generation rises up who has this in their blood so that they will want to do it in spite of the terrible pay, in spite of the terrible hours, in spite of the terrible treatment, and in spite of the fact that no one ever, 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 ever will say thank you. So there you go. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, it sucks, but at least it will continue to suck into the foreseeable future. And the people who are making it suck will have, it's funny, students of mine were talking about whether or not karma exists in the, instant karma sense, in the, karma while you are still alive sense. And I had to ask them, I was like, wait, do you mean to tell me that you don't know of an instance in which terrible people have gotten away with being terrible and just continue to be terrible? Like, you don't know of a time and place in which that has happened? Because, wow, what a cotton candy kingdom you must be living in. Yeah. Because the people who are terrible to others, they get away with it. They always get away with it. They always have, they always will. And when the people they're being terrible to are teachers, well, the teachers got a couple of choices. Suck it up, take your crappy treatment like every other teacher has since the dawn of freaking time. Or, alternately, go ahead and get yourself fired. Those are your choices. Well, I'm going to suck it up because I always have, because I always will. But understand that while I am sucking it up, know that I know what's going on. I understand the injustice that is being dealt. And I'm not happy about it. You can't ask me to be. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, life sucks, but eventually you'll be dead someday. And what will you have had control over? You will have had control over you and you alone. So, if you're the sort of person who thinks that it is at all important to cultivate a mind full of knowledge, cultivate that mind full of knowledge. Don't assume that anyone is ever going to appreciate it. Quite frankly, they are more likely to resent it. Yeah, you will have your days in the sun. They will be all too brief, and you will be here and you will be gone. And before too long, you will be forgotten. That is the way of the world. And to think otherwise is to delude yourself. Yep. That's how it is. That's the way that things are. Oh, God. Another. But, ladies and gentlemen, you can make a difference to you. You can know that what you have done is good and just and worthy of the respect and admiration that you deserve but will never get. That's all you get. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully, your short few days in the sun will produce something of value for you and for those around you. And if not, it'll be over before you know it, and you'll be forgotten, and it won't matter one way or the other. That's it, ladies and gentlemen, and I will see you in the next one. Okay, bye.